The barrel of the Remington trembled slightly against Jack Thornton's shoulder as he peered through the swirling Montana blizzard. Down in the valley, blanketed in relentless white, a woman lay sprawled beside her fallen horse, blood staining the snow around her. And damn if she didn't have his late wife's face, not exactly. The cheekbones were higher, the lips fuller, but those eyes, piercing blue like a summer sky after a storm, were Amelia's eyes, staring back at him like a ghost demanding answers. He'd been chasing the Dalton gang for 4 days across this unforgiving frontier, their tracks vanishing like smoke in the wind. But now, watching this stranger fight to rise on what looked like a mangled leg, something inside Jack splintered a wall he'd built brick by brick over the past 3 years since Amelia's death. The smart move was to turn his horse and ride on. Let the storm swallow her like it did everything else worth a damn in this brutal land. Jack Thornton knew better than most that digging up the past only led to more graves. Yet as she locked eyes with him, desperation turning to fragile hope, one burning question clawed at his mind. What do you do when the dead won't stay buried? For miles from his ranch house, Jack made his decision. He slid from his saddle with the quiet grace of a former Union scout, his boots sinking into the drifts. The woman, no older than 30, was clawing toward a cluster of evergreens, her right leg trailing uselessly. "Easy there," he growled, his voice gravelly from months of solitude. "I ain't here to hurt you." She whipped around, and the resemblance punched him in the gut. But where Amelia had been warm and yielding, this woman's features held a sharpness, like a blade honed by hardship. "Back off," she snarled, digging into her coat for what looked like a pocket pistol, her fingers unsteady but determined. Jack held up his hands. "Ma'am, you're bleeding out, and this storm's going to bury us both before dawn. Shoot me if you must, or let me help. Your call." Those eyes, God, those eyes scanned him like she was measuring a noose. "You're him," she breathed, the words slicing through the wind. "You're Jack Thornton." The name echoed like a bad omen in these parts, heavy with shadows. Jack's fingers twitched toward his revolver. "And who's asking?" "Nora Hayes," she said, her voice steady despite the pain etching her face. "Amelia's sister." The world tilted, the snow muffling everything but his pounding heart. Amelia had spoken of a sister once, a librarian from Chicago, too headstrong to venture west. "She thinks the plains will break her spirit," Amelia had teased, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest in their bed. "She doesn't get that out here. The broken ones are the survivors." But this woman, defiant and bleeding, was no fragile city girl. Amelia never. Jack swallowed the words. There were secrets Amelia had kept, as he'd learned the hard way. "What the hell are you doing out here?" Nora's lips curled in a bitter smile. "I came to face my brother-in-law, to ask why he let my sister die." The accusation landed like a gut shot, but Jack had endured worse nights replaying Amelia's blood on the Billings Trail. "Ma'am, whatever tales you've heard." "I heard plenty," she spat, trying to stand and gasping as her leg buckled. "Rebecca Sullivan wrote me. Told me about your dirty secret, how you knew the Dalton gang was hitting that route, but sent Amelia anyway." Rebecca Sullivan, a name, stirred old bile. A widow who'd set her sights on Jack, turning venomous when he'd chosen Amelia. But why spin lies now? Heavy flakes began to fall thicker, the storm turning vicious. "Lady, I don't care what Rebecca fed you, but we stay here jawing. We'll both be iced by morning. Move now, or die proving your point." He stepped forward, and she leveled the pistol at his chest. "Don't you touch me." But her strength ebbed, the gun slipping into the snow as she crumpled, pale and shivering. Without a word, Jack lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than Amelia, all wiry strength where his wife had been soft and curved. This woman was forged for endurance, not ease. "I hate you," she murmured against his collar as he hoisted her onto his horse. "Good," Jack muttered, mounting behind her, her body pressed to his for warmth. "Hate keeps the blood pumping." But as they rode, He caught a flicker in her tone, not just rage, but a raw longing that mirrored the emptiness he saw in his mirror every dawn. And Jack Thornton knew, with the certainty of a man who'd already lost his world, that Nora Hayes was about to shatter what remained of his. The ranch house assaulted Nora with memories Amelia's letters had painted. The stone hearth, the woven rug, the oak table Jack had carved himself. But the letters hadn't captured how Amelia lingered in every shadow, her knitting basket by the fire, yarn still tangled, her green shawl draped over a hook as if she'd just stepped out. Even the air carried faint hints of her rosewater scent. "Jesus," Nora whispered as Jack set her in the armchair Amelia's chair. She realized with a pang. The firelight danced across his rugged face, and for the first time, she truly saw him. Jack Thornton wasn't the villain she'd imagined. Tall and solid from ranch work, with a gentleness in how he probed her leg, careful as a doctor. A faded scar crossed his right cheek, deep enough to whisper of near death. His eyes were storm gray, burdened by unseen weights. "It's sprained bad, but it'll mend," he said softly, fetching water and ripping cloth for bandages. But his hand shook, and he avoided her gaze. "Because I look like her," Nora thought. "Because seeing me is like staring at his failure." "Why'd you let her go alone?" she demanded as he bound her ankle. His movements halted. "I didn't let her do a damn thing. Your sister wasn't one to be bossed. Rebecca said you knew about the Daltons. Said you had a choice." Jack's jaw tightened like he was biting back poison. Rebecca Sullivan's got her axes to grind. He rose, staring into the flames. "So you're calling her a liar?" "I'm saying it's messy." Nora's anger flared. "Messy? My sister's dead, and you call it messy?" "Your sister had leukemia." The words dropped like stones. Nora's world spun. "What?" Jack's shoulders slumped. "Bone cancer, gnawing at her for months. She was heading to Billings for a specialist, not some shopping trip like I told folks." "That's a lie. She'd have told me. She swore me to secrecy. Wanted to face it with grace, not pity." His voice cracked. "Even made me bunk in the barn those last weeks, skull and bare me, watching her fade." Nora's mind raced through Amelia's final letter shorter, handwriting labored. She chalked it up to ranch life. "You're full of it." Jack met her eyes, raw agony there. "I begged her not to ride that day." Roads were buzzing with Dalton talk. But the doc could only slaughter then, and she said cancer don't wait. He fetched a box from the shelf. Vials of morphine, painkillers for the end. I fought to go with her, but she refused. Said she wanted me to remember her fierce, not frail. The room blurred with Nora's tears. Outside, the blizzard raged, sealing them in. "Her last words?" she whispered. Jack closed his eyes. She said, "Don't let them know about." Then she was gone. Never knew what. Don't let them know about the cancer, Nora realized. Even dying, Amelia protected her pride. "Oh God, what have I done?" But Jack wasn't looking at her. His gaze fixed on a tintype of Amelia in her wedding gown, radiant. "You look so much like her," he murmured. "Same eyes, same fire when you're riled. But tougher, like you've got steel in your spine." His tone shifted, making Nora's skin prickle not as kin, but as a woman. Suddenly aware of her disheveled state, hair loose, dress torn. "Mr. Thornton Jackthese is wrong." "Yeah," he stepped closer, the air crackling. "It is." But he closed the gap anyway, and Nora didn't retreat. In that storm-bound cabin, between blame and yearning, something ignited redemption or ruin. She couldn't tell. For days the blizzard trapped them, and by the third night, Nora felt temptation like a predator stalking. It lurked in Jack's broad back as he chopped wood, in the deliberate space he kept, as if nearness might ignite them. In stolen glances that held fire before he'd look away. "You don't have to sleep on the floor," she'd said the first night, eyeing his pallet by the fire. "Yes, I do," he'd rasped. But on the third, with frost creeping inside, survival trumped decorum. "You'll freeze," Nora stated, lifting the quilt on Amelia's feather bed. Jack hesitated in the doorway, in his long johns, face tormented. "Nora, this ain't just warmth," she lied. "Just living through the night." But as he slid in, a pillow barricade between them, they both knew better. His heat seeped through, his breath a steady rhythm she matched. Every brush of skin sparked like flint. "Tell me about her," Nora whispered in the dark. "When she was happy." He tensed. "Why?" "Because I want her alive in stories." "You had her whole." "I got scraps and letters." After a pause, his voice softened. "She'd hum folk tunes while cooking, voice like honey, temper like a Mustang when crossed." A chuckle. "Tried teaching me to waltz. Once nearly crippled us both." Nora smiled. "She wrote that. Said you danced like a bull in a china shop." "Did she?" Laughter warmed his words. They talked till dawn off Amelia's life here, the love they'd shared differently. Barriers crumbled, fingers grazing over coffee, eyes lingering. On the fourth day, fixing a loose barn door, it snapped. Nora held the plank. Jack leaned close, breath hot on her neck. She turned, their faces inches apart. "Nora," he breathed, name like a plea. "I know," she said, knowing they teetered on betrayal. When his hand cupped her face, thumb grazing her lip, she leaned in. The kiss exploded fierce, desperate, 3 years of isolation unleashed. Jack kissed like a man starved, hands roaming, lifting her onto the workbench, settling between her legs. She gasped as his lips trailed her neck, fingers fumbling buttons, exposing skin through her shift. "God, Nora!" he groaned, lips on her breast. Her hands tore at his shirt, finding scars and muscle that made him shudder. "We should stop," he panted, but his hands slid her shift down. "Don't," she begged, arching. Then her eyes caught Amelia's locket on the sill, chain glinting like judgment. "No," she shoved him back. "We can't, I can't." Jack staggered, confusion to pain to clarity as he saw the locket. "What the hell are we doing?" Nora clutched her dress, shame flooding. "I don't know." The storm eased, sun piercing the windows. "Roads will clear by morn," Jack said flatly. "You can head out." "Where?" The question sharpened. She'd come with nothing. Anywhere but here. But his eyes betrayed deeper feelings of affection, maybe love. "I can't stay. Not after what we almost did." "Almost honored the living over the dead," Jack said. "Amelia wouldn't." "Don't presume what my sister wanted." Nora snapped. "You didn't even spot her dying." He paled, then hardened. "You're right. I didn't know her. And I damn sure don't know you." But as they packed, both knew the lie. In those days, they'd bared souls and that bond was lethal. Dawn brought Harlan Bishop and his crew, horses snorting steam in the chill. Jack heard them, first the tack creak, the deliberate pace of men spoiling for trouble. He'd honed that instinct in the war, surviving ambushes that claimed better men. "Visitors," he murmured, loading his revolver. Nora froze mid-packing. "What kind?" "The killing kind." Through the window, Harlan's bulky form emerged, eyes cold as a snake's. His foreman, Zeke Harlanokin, just bad luck and 5 hard cases from Billings dives. "Miss Hayes," Harlan bellowed, voice oily with fake concern. "If you're in there, best come out. Folks are worried about your virtue." Nora blanched. In these parts, a woman's name was her shield. Tarnish it, and she was ruined. "Son of a bitch," Jack growled. He'd seen this. Coming gossip flew fast, and Harlan coveted his water-rich land. "What does he want?" Nora whispered. "My spread." This is his pretext. Harlan checked his watch dramatically. "Now, Miss Hayes, you know how it looks a lone woman hold up with a man like Thornton unchaperoned." Nora strode to the porch, chin high. "Mr. Bishop, if you've got something to say, spit it out, harmy and all." Harlan's smile curdled. "Ma'am, words out, you've been here days with him. Ain't proper for a lady." "My propriety ain't your business," Nora shot back. "Stranded in a blizzard, took shelter from a good man. Or do I need your say-so?" Behind Harlan, Zeke shifted. "Watch your tongue, woman. You're speaking to the man who runs this county." "Runs it?" Nora echoed. "Not owns it. Pity." Jack stifled a grin. Amelia had spark, but Nora was dynamite. Harlan flushed. I'm offering decency preserve your name. But if you're stubborn, then what? Jack stepped out, hand on his gun. You'll swing for corrupting her, Thornton, Harlan sneered. After letting your wife die now, this? The barb stung. Jack's reputation in tatters since Amelia Hero turned coward in whispers. You don't have to face this, Jack told Nora. Back door through the cellar. No running, she said, eyes fierce. Harlan's hand twitched. What man sends his wife to slaughter? Takes her kin to bed before the dirt settles? Jack's blood boiled. The man done with your lies. Nothing left to lose. Jack, don't, Nora warned. Harlan drew, but Jack was lightning as Remington barked, shattering Harlan's pistol hand. Zeke half drew. Jack's second shot splintered his saddle horn. Next twitch gets lead, Jack said calmly, eyes deadly. Tension hung thick. Then a voice cut in, enough. From the pines rode an older man, silver-haired, badge gleaming U.S. Marshal Elias Ford. Marshal, Harlan stammered. Ford dismounted. Been hearing tales about you, Bishop. Shady land grabs. He had Harlan's hand. Clean shot. Lucky Thornton aimed low a man with his medals could have ended you. Medals? Nora gasped. Ford nodded. Medal of Honor, Gettysburg. Held a ridge alone against Rebs. Saved his platoon. Even Nora stared. You never said. Didn't matter. Ford turned to Harlan. Pack up. 24 hours. You're gone from my jurisdiction. Harlan rode off, defeated. Well, Ford said, let's talk futures inside. The letter hid in Amelia's locket box, under loose lining. Nora found it hours after Ford left, promising Harlan's end. Her hands trembled, unfolding Amelia's script. My dear Nora, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've sought truths. Pray you find them, and my gift to you both. Jack lingered in the door, bags packed to vanish, freeing Nora from his baggage. What does it say? He asked. Nora read, voice breaking. I know your guilt, sister blaming yourself for not being here. But I chose solitude, too proud for weakness. And I sent you east to chase your dreams, not mine. She paused. But hear this about Jack. He loved me fiercely, would have traded his life for my pain. He blames himself for not writing that day, but truth is, I begged him stay. Knew the doc's verdict was final. Wanted one last sight of him strong, not shattered. Jack slumped. She knew. Nora continued. So blame elsewhere. Jack's sin? Loving too deep. And you two share our family's stubborn streak. Tears flowed. My last wish. You found more than justiciar man who gets loss, a woman strong enough to heal without erasing me. The quiet deepened. I bless you both, for love endures beyond flesh. Hearts hold grief and joy. A postscript. P.S. Jack, the ring in the box grandma's, for the woman bold enough to mend a scarred heart. You'll know. Nora's breath hitched as Jack drew a pouch of gold band with an emerald. Nora, he rasped, I'm no prize older, rougher, haunted, but if you'll have me. Yes, she whispered. Yes, you idiot. As he slipped on the ring, their kiss sealed it, the cabin lightning-like absolution. And in that Montana dawn, from sorrow's ruins rose a new life, proving hearts mend, love reborn. What do you think, did Jack and Nora deserve their happy ending? Or was it a betrayal of Amelia's memory? Share your take in the comments below. Whose side are you on and why? Let's debate.